Hello everyone, good afternoon to all of you. Welcome to the new session of our e-learning class. I am Rasmi Ranjan Mishra, HOD, Department of BBA, UN Autonomous College of Science and Technology. Today I am going to discuss in front of you a subject regarding human resource management. So on today's discussion, I will represent in front of you the chapter that is relating to performance appraisal, and on today's discussion the subject is regarding to errors in performance appraisal. So we have already discussed in our last two class what is performance appraisal, what are the various methods of performance appraisal, and we conclude that performance appraisal is the result, or it means evaluating the performance of an employee in an organization in terms of qualitative and quantitative. So when performance appraisal is conducted in an organization by the top level executives, manager or chief executive officers or the raters, they will appraise the employees or they will evaluate the employees in qualitative point of view as well as in quantitative point of view. But in certain cases it is seen in some of the organization or most of the organization that due to bias or any other nature or the status of the rater or whatever may be the different reason, the problem will arise at the time of evaluating the performance of an employee, and that problem leads to errors in performance appraisal. So what is that performance appraisal and what are the different methods where the performance appraisal errors will arise, that we will discuss one by one. So now we are going to discuss the errors during performance appraisal. Performance appraisal are subject to a wide variety of inaccuracy and bias referred to as rating errors. So basically the appraisal error arises due to inaccuracies or bias nature as to the rating or the raters. So errors arise in the raters' observations, judgment and information processing. So views upon the observation or based upon the observation or judgment or different information collection by the rater, basically that error will arise at the time of appraisal of an employee, and that can have a serious impact on assessment results. So when appraisal error arises by the rater, that will cause a serious impact or the negative impact towards the performance assessment of an employee, as well as it also leads to a negative impact towards the assessment result of the organization. So basically the most common rating errors are as follows. While calculating or evaluating the performance of an employee or performance appraisal when it is made by the rater due to different observations or judgment or information processing, the error will arise. So what are that errors? The most common rating errors are central tendency, second one is halo effect, third one is rater effect, then leniency or severity, then next one is primacy and a recency effect, next contrast effect, attribution error, spillover effect, status effect, similar to me effect, stereotyping, performance dimension. So these are the various rating errors that will arise at the time of a performance appraisal by the rater. So we will discuss one by one. So the first, that is central tendency. What is that central tendency error and when it will arise? It is the most commonly found error in merit rating. This error arises when the rater is not sure about the performance of a person, may not be well conversant with his work or may have less time at his disposal. He will like to play safe in evaluating process and will rate them outstanding. And this type of a tendency on the part of the evaluator distorts the evaluation and making them most useless for a promotion. So central tendency that signifies that at the time of evaluating the employee, the rater having no knowledge. So when the rater having no knowledge or having no information about one employee, in that case based upon his own judgment will make the employee as average or make the employee as outstanding or below, whatever may be. That will depend upon the rater. As the rater is unable to collect the information or having no information, so based upon that directly he will make it average or make it a high performance. So in that case the person who is having low performance may get the chance of a high rating, or the persons those are having average performance, they will get the high rating, or the person those are having high performance, they will get the average rating. So this will lead one type of error at the time of evaluating the performance of an employee by the rater, and this leads to central tendency. Then the second one is halo effect or halo error. Inappropriate generalization from one aspect of an individual performance to all area of that person's performance. So one negative aspect in this case might influence an employee overall performance assessment. That means this error signifies that when the rater will make the appraisal of an employee based upon one performance or one aspect of an individual performance, the rater will make all the area of a person's performance. If one aspect having high, then overall performance high. If one area having lower average, then overall performance may be average or may be low. So based upon one individual performance, the rater will make the overall performance, and this leads to halo error. Then the third one is rater effect. This includes favoritism, stereotyping, hostility to influence the evaluation, and evaluation is determined by the rater's attitude towards the subject, not the actual income or behavior. So here the rater will make the performance of an employee or rate the performance of an employee towards the subject matter, not on the actual outcome what the employee made or the actual behavior which is made by the employee in an organization. Without having catching that information based upon the favoritism or stereotyping, the rater will make the decision or rate the employee. Then the fourth error, that is called as a leniency or strictness. This error caused by the tendency of the rater to rate an employee higher or lower than what his or her actual performance warrants. That means the rater will make the rating for an employee based upon maybe higher or maybe lower, whatever may be the actual performance. Without taking into consideration the actual performance, the rater will make the rating of an employee. So this is influenced by the rater's style or evaluation, either being too easy on the employee or being very critical. So based upon the rater's evaluation, maybe the employee will get higher rating or maybe get lower rating. So overall critical for the employee performance, which does not a good evaluation by the rater, and this leads to critical employee's performance. Then the next fifth error, that is primacy and a recency effect. The rater's rating are heavily influenced either by behavior executed or exhibited by the subject during the early stage of the review period, or by outcome or behavior exhibited near the end of the review period. So at the beginning or at the end, what the outcome will be made, based upon that the rater will rate the employee, and this is called as a primary. So when at the beginning it is made or the review at the early stage made, that is called as a primacy effect, and when the review made at the end of the period, in that case that is called as a recency effect. Error caused by the drawing judgment of employee performance too soon or too late in a review period. So either it is too soon or maybe it is too late. Then the next error, that is contrast effect. Tendency of a rater to evaluate people in comparison with other individual rather than against the standard of the job. So here rater, without taking into consideration the standard performance of the job relating to an employee, rater will evaluate the people in comparison to other individual. So rater will make a comparison of one employee with the other employee. Based upon that, the rater will rate the employee, but that rater will ignore that what is the actual or standard performance of the job relating to that employee. Then the seventh error, that is called as a attribution error. This tendency to attribute performance failing to factors under the control of the individual and performance success to external causes or factors. So based upon the external factors or the external causes, the rater will make the rating, and this tendency to attribute performance, and that falls to different types of error at the time of evaluating the performance of an employee. Then the eighth error, that is called as a spillover effect. It refers to allowing past performance appraisal rating to unjustifiable influence current evaluation. that signifies that when the rater will make evaluation or rate the employee, spillover effect signifies that means taking into consideration the past performance, ignoring the current evaluation or current performance. What the employee make or what the employee is doing in present scenario, the rater is ignoring that. Based upon the past performance what the employee had made, the rater will make the rating of the employees or make the performance appraisal, and that leads to one type of error which is called as a spillover effect. Past rating may be good or may be bad, result in a similar rating for current period, although demonstrated behavior does not deserve the particular rating. So maybe the past rating for that particular employee good or maybe bad, but that does not mean that when the past rating good, that current rating may be good, or the past rating bad signifies current rating bad. So that is not in all cases, but rater will make that rating based upon the past performance, ignoring the present performance or present condition. Then the next error, that is called as a status effect. That means the rater will make the employee rating based upon the status. That means when the employee is in having high performance, the rating will be high, or when the employee having low position, the rating will be low. So this is called as a status effect or status error. It refers to overrating the employees in a higher level job or jobs held or perceived high esteem, and underrating the employee those are in a lower level job or jobs held in low esteem. So that does not in all cases good, or that does not true in all cases. Employee having higher position, that signifies high rating, that is not in all cases true, or employee having lower position may be having low rating. So maybe the employee having low position having high performance, employee having high position may be low performance, but the status effect shows this. Then the next one is similar to me effect. That means the tendency of the rater to rate the employees who resembles themselves more highly than they rate others. That means what the rater is, based upon that resembles to that, the rater will make the others accordingly to that. That is called as a similar to me. The tendency of the rater is that the employee who resembles themselves, that means who resembles to rater, that more highly rate than to others who is not equal to the rater. Then the next, that is called as a perceptual set. This occurs when the rater's assessment is influenced by previously held beliefs. That means what the rater influenced or what the rater's perception based upon the past beliefs, accordingly the rater will rate in a current scenario the rating of the employees. If the supervisor, for example, has a belief that employee hailing from a particular region are intelligent and hardworking, his subsequent rating for that employee from that region tends to be favorable. That means the rater thinks that this employee comes from a particular region having more intelligent, because these regions are more intelligent peoples, or the peoples belongs to that region having high intelligence and hardworking, and subsequently based upon that perception the rater will rate the employees of an organization as they belongs to that particular region. So this is relating to our appraisal error and various types of appraisal error. Then the next part, that is relating to performance management system. So what is that, and what are the various challenges that arises in performance management system? So one part is performance management. That means it is a process for setting up a shared understanding what is to be achieved by an organization level. So performance management system is one type of a process for sharing or setting up the information that is to be achieved in an organization level. It basically involves various alignment of organizational objectives with individual agreed measures based upon the skills, competencies, requirement and development plans and delivery of a result. The focus is on performance improvement through learning and development. So performance management system based upon the focus, that focus leads to learning and development in order to achieve the overall business objectives or in order to achieve the overall strategy of the organization. Holistically, this performance management that integrates multitude of elements which contribute for effective management of human resource in an organization. So performance management system is a systematic process which a manager can use to get the team members to achieve the team objectives. So the manager, in accordance with various team members, taking into consideration all the achievement of objectives and systematically process implemented by the management to get the team members to achieve that objectives or the targets, and improve the overall team effectiveness, and develop the performance abilities or performance capabilities, review and assess the team and individual performance, and reward and motivate the employees. Not only assess the efficiency and effectiveness, but also make the motivational factor or reward factors, so that the employee will work more to earn more, and ultimately the overall objectives or performance can be achieved. Effective performance management, that requires, the first one is identifying the tasks and accountabilities. So when performance management is effective, only when the tasks can be identified properly, and who is accountable which part of the organizational activities, then the management system or the performance management can be effective. The second one is defining competency necessary to be successful in a position. Those are accountable for that part, they are having competency, and the organization always defining that competencies which is necessary for successful of that particular position. Then the third part is ensuring that the team members have the required competency. Organization cannot assign that, or only assignment is not sufficient. After assigning that, the organization must ensure that those work assigned to those employees, they must have the capability to perform that, or they must have the required competency to fulfill or to perform everything in an effective manner. Then having in place a system to develop the competency. In all cases, the management or the organization must have to develop all the competencies factor, so that the employees must have the capability to go with that competencies environment to make good for achievement of organizational objectives. Then the next one is providing timely feedback. This is most important. If the feedback is not collected by the organization, appraisal cannot be made by the organization, then organization cannot assess how effectively the team members are applying for their respective competencies. So this must have been made from the very beginning to accomplish all types of tasks and achievement of goals. Then the next one is rewarding and motivational factor. This also made for effective performance. If reward and motivational factor is not implemented in an organization, then employees will not motivated and there will not be effective performance. Then the next one is, in the event that performance does not meet the established requirement, manager must understand the corrective process. So when organization thinks that it is not in a position or not in a line to meet the requirements what the organization or the manager desires or the things, in that case, as soon as possible from the very beginning, the manager must understand everything and to make the corrective process and methods which can help to improve the employee performance. So what is the basic objectives of a performance management system? The basic objective is to develop and improve the performance effectiveness for the team members. For that, the manager as well as the team members, they work together to plan, monitor, review and appraise the work's objectives and overall contribution for achieving the goals or objectives. So for that, various tools and techniques are implemented, ranging from the traits based on the behaviors based to result based. And accordingly, different formal and informal communication is also used to provide the feedback. This feedback should be in regular way or in irregular way, but lot of time as well as energy is also spent for getting the goals and measuring the rights and reviewing the performance and appraising it. So if any time things go wrong and the required effectiveness is not obtained, in that case different steps has been implemented. So why this problem will arise and what are the challenges? There are different challenges that manage the performance, and that could be as follows. The first one is wrong design. That means if the work culture or the work procedure is not designed in a proper way, then that leads to wrong design of work, and that is not able to fulfill the organizational objectives. So organization system or the performance management system must be based upon the various tools, and that is also based upon a specific needs. It cannot be duplication. for the design and implementation of another activities. Even an organization in the same industry or the same business group, intense consultation with various stakeholders as well as users, that is necessary. That means the manager must have to make consult with the different stakeholders as well as various users for the system involvement. Users' trust is an absolute necessity for the success of the system. The design should be tried out to a point base before it is ruled out. Before implementation, that should be designed properly, and all the documents, forms must be in a proper place. The system should be so fair and equitable, and the performance management should be viewed on a continuous process and not on activity conducted. That should be viewed on a regular or a continuous process, and basically in a year twice or thrice the review system must be implemented in an organization. If this is not implemented, that leads to wrong design of work, and when there is wrong design of work, the performance management system is not effective, and in that case organizational effectiveness or objectives cannot be achieved. So the design should include mechanism for rewarding performance as well as those are handling or those are the poor performance that should be handled properly by the organization. Then the second challenge is absence of integration. The performance management system has to be integrated with strategic planning and human resource management system. So there must be proper planning and there must be better resource management or human resource management. So when it is made with the organizational culture, structure and all other organizational system, then that is effective integration of all the resources. So when this is lacking, that is called as a absence of integration, and when there is not integration of a different resource in an organization, that leads to failure of achievement of objectives. Then the third challenge is lack of a leadership commitment. So everybody or some are they must be having effective leadership quality. So leadership commitment and support that must for smooth implementation of the system. The leader must drive the process and make the performance management system in an effective part or is an integral part of the management of a company. Leaders, they contribute not only the strategic direction but also reviewing and monitoring the performance across the organization. So they have the quality to make decision as well as reviewing that decision and monitoring everything across the organizational system. They also reinforce the performance cycle by recognizing and rewarding the performance. So performance cycle can be made through recognition and rewarding system. Then another challenge is ignoring change management in system implementation. Strategic management of change is a vital part for implementing the system, driven by the top management. It involves careful management of resistance. Communication would be also a major intervention and a key tool for managing the change. Implementation milestone and schedule that must have been followed. Proper documents must be also in that place. So everything should be made in a proper way. There must be communication system through formal as well as informal. There must be different key tools which manage the change and a different schedule that has been followed clearly, and with that proper documents must be taken into consideration, or organization must think that the documents should be in a proper place. So when that has been made, that leads to effective management system. Then another challenge, that is incompetence. Competency that use the performance management system and that is necessary for smooth implementation of a system. But some major skills which include defining the strategy objectives. At every time there must be objectives identified or strategic objectives should be taken into consideration. Performance indicators are also there, core competency as well as performance contracts. Then the key performance indicator that must be taken into consideration and defining that performance measure which corresponds to that key performance indicators. Then giving and taking feedback at every time that has been followed and that must have been implemented. Conducting the appraisal interview and active listening should be followed. Then another one is performance coaching. Those are having poor performance. In that case, different techniques, methods, procedure have been provided in the form of a coaching to that the poor performer employees. So the dimension for performance must have follows. Performance dimension both in terms of quality as quantity. The dimension should be clearly defined and easily understood by all the employees. All the employees must be consistent for image or goodwill of the company. The quality standard that must have been laid down. Workers, they must have been properly trained for performance dimension of the company, and the mission statement and the philosophy that must be made by the organization, and that must have been followed in advance. So another one is fixed in advance. Performance dimension both in quality and quantity must be specified in advance, and this will guide the employees because they will know exactly how much to have been done both in terms of quality and quantity, and they have to produce individually or collectively before they start the making the good activities. And a clear, easy to understand, that is also another part. Everything should be clear both in terms of shape, size, quality, weight, everything that must have been clearly defined. It must be simple and easy to understand for all the employees who will implement for implementation, and that will be effective only if the employees understand the performance dimension. So when employees in the organization, they must have understand everything relating to the performance dimension clearly and very easily, that will be understood by everything, so objectives can be achieved. Then consistent with image must be created. That image leads to goodwill of the company. For example, a mineral water company that focus on quality by highlighting the seal. So when one company that relates to, that means the water producing or mineral water. So at the time of making image for that particular company, they must have been make or highlight the seal of the cap of the bottle to remove all the doubts. The customer, they must have go through that seal and they understood that the company, whether that is good company or that is a fake company, whether the water which is in the bottle that is in a good position to drink or not. Everything can be judged when the seal is properly matched or that will be highlighted by the company and that will be clearly understood by the customer. Then the another one is quality standard. If the performance dimension of output have to be achieved, then it must have been to fix the standards for input. The supplier must be informed about the quality standard for raw material. Then the training performance dimension, that is necessary to train the workers about the performance dimension. What the organization is going to achieve, that must have been understood by all the employees, and the trainer must have to train to the workers, and this leads to work effectively for achievement of objectives as well as individual goals. And there must be a mission statement. Every organization must have a mission or vision. The performance dimension must be included with a mission statement as well as philosophy. A mission statement of a college can focus on providing good quality education. This is one example. So when one organization that relates to educational institute and there is a mission statement, their mission is to provide quality education to the students, and this must have been shown in the policy program course of the college. Everything that must have been shown in everywhere, so that the organization must have been go through that, and the students, they must have to see that, and accordingly they have to go for achieving their individual objectives as well as organizational objectives. This is our today's lecture class, which relates to performance appraisal errors, various types of performance appraisal error, another part that relates to performance management system, and what are the challenges that is involved with the performance management system. So hope you students have all cleared about today's class. If you are having any doubt, then you can give your comment in the comment section. Thank you. Have a good day to all of you.